Okay, talking bass tone. Got some goodies for you today. Well, I think they're goodies. So I want to talk. I want to talk about some more sounds going on under this left hand. A little bit more, and two things I want to show you. One is, and I made a reference to this earlier in one of my other videos, is, you know, there's different ways you can grip the strings that are going to give you different sounds. Let me just turn up here. I'm playing my P bass knockoff, and I'm playing that for a reason today because just the way that the action is set up on it is going to help me illustrate another point that I have. But I want to talk a little bit about fret rattle and fret sizzle and fret buzz, and what some people would probably say, oh, that's bad technique. And I mean, that's all very subjective. But most importantly, what I want to show you is that the way that you grip the strings can make a difference in the sound. I'm going to demonstrate that right now. So I'm going to play just down at the end here. Okay. And what I'm going to try to do is start playing a line like that, but slowly but surely, like lifting the pressure off of the strings until I start getting like just an unclear tone. And I think you're going to see something interesting here. So I'm pressing pretty firmly. Okay, I'm going to lighten up a bit. You can already start to hear a little more sizzle, a little more what I like to call that slushy tone. I'm hoping you can hear that. You can hear I'm almost it's barely ringing now. So what I like to do is find that space where it's not and I find for me, if I'm playing sort of like more, like if I want to hear that, I want to hear the sounds, especially with a round wound, and this will work with flat wounds too. If I want to hear the sounds of the frets, then I will lighten up my touch and I'll play with like a flatter hand. You can hear that it's like, oh, are you getting that note? Barely. And what's great about that is that as soon as you start like you know, hitting a tube amp and stuff, it starts to sizzle and fry a little bit, which is very cool in my opinion if you want that sound, especially if you're playing like, you know, kind of like more sort of like funk stuff, you know, more percussive sounding stuff. So yeah, there's that. Another related topic I want to talk about, and there's something I want to say just before I get into this next piece, is bass players, we can learn a hell of a lot about tone from what our friends in the guitar world you know, have learned. And I play guitar a little bit. I wouldn't call myself, I'm more of a bass player than a guitar player, but I found that learning guitar and getting into good guitar and finding good guitar tone and whatnot really helped me a lot in trying to figure out what I like in a good bass tone. And it's all very subjective, but there's a lot to be said and learned. And with that, I think about my, the legend Jimi Hendrix. And I'm not sure if any bass players I know this. There may be a handful, but he used to play his Strat in E flat. He'd tune it to E flat, G flat, what is that? D flat, G flat, and he did that because one, his neck was turned upside down, and he found the string tensions were a little bit off. But I think he liked the way that the looser strings, how percussive they could sound when they're a little bit looser. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this tuner here, and I'm gonna tune down. I want you to hear, first of all, I want you to just take note of like what this sounds like. Listen to that fret rattle. So I'm playing pretty light. I'm gonna do that in E flat, and let's see what the difference is here. Let me just forgive this. That's funny, it's registering a B. So there's just going down a half step. And the strings that I have on this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, are Ernie Ball nickel strings, just regular gauge. Could be wrong though. But they've got a sizzle already. But I want you to hear the difference. I'm just tuning down a half step. And see, guitar players know all about this stuff. They're like, oh yeah, like guitar sounds totally different when you down tune it. Bass players typically would never do such a thing. And I say, why not? So let's listen. So I'm in E flat now. I can already hear, obviously, it's like my strings aren't as tight. And now my action is probably, the relief has probably come back a little bit on the neck relief. You can hear already I'm getting a lot more percussion against the frets. If I dig in with my right hand, really start, I can almost get like a slapping tone. And some of you guys might find that like awful sounding. It's just about, hey, that's a tool you can use. Like that's filthy. That's really dirty. That works for some sounds. Like some, you can kind of play light. You can sort of hear there's a lot more rattle. Yeah, so right now I have everything cranked. The last thing I want to show you is another trick I learned from my guitar playing friends, is that you can roll off the tone. You can use the tone control to control your tone. I used to never use it, but also very interestingly is there's a treble bleed in the way these things are wired, in that as soon as you roll off start rolling off the volume a little bit, it actually rolls off some of the treble too, which is nice. It's very subtle. but you can warm up your tone just by rolling the heat off of the volume. Listen to the difference. This is full. This is at about, let's see here. This is at about like 9. It warms up. It's not, the volume is dropping for sure, but the tone is changing. It's a little warmer, less harsh. You can warm it up. Find a really, it's like an ultra fine tone control. You use that in conjunction with your tone pot and just get the sweet. Find that honey spot. Where's that money tone, you know? You want a bit more hair? So it's kind of nice. You can use your volume control as a tone control in that upper space there. You know, in between 9 and 10, there's some roll off, some treble roll off, and it sounds good. And I can take some of that percussive edge off. And I don't think I need to explain what the tone knob does. I always found it way too dramatic. You know, I don't know anybody who plays with the tone rolled all the way off. Anyways, I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of bass players, they just don't really play around with their volume and tone controls in the same way guitar players know their tone and volume controls. And they gotta have 10 different guitars, and they know just how like those tone knobs and those volume knobs affect like the pickup output. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. That's 12 minutes of craziness. And it's pretty nuanced stuff, but I think it's important. Anyways, until the next video, I'm going to talk about some other stuff. I will get into hardware a little bit, you know, pickups, speaker cabinets, amps, tubes, and stuff like that too. So I'm going to continue talking about the system of tone for bass. And you guys just gonna have to hear me out, hear the craziness, hear the obsessive compulsion play out. Anyways, maybe you got something from this. Maybe you were like, this is crazy, and this is straight from the book of Who Cares. And that's cool too.